port VTSs. There are 4 secondary ports which do not have port VTSs, and the VTS service on these small 4 ports is assured. It's assured by the coastal VTS. We have a project running at the moment to have VTS installed in the Madeira and the Azores Islands. So we have 2 control centers, one operative and one redundant. The one is a copy of the other. One is manned, the other one is not. The second one is waiting for a disaster that can overcome the operational center. We have also as sensors, we have 8 long-range primary coastal radars, which detect mobile targets with the projected area of 20 square meters and with a height above water of 2.5 meters above sea level, and speeds up to 45 knots at a distance of, it is our experience, between 50 and 60 miles. Plus, we have, on these same radar towers, we have 7 AIS base stations, double base stations actually, so we have redundancy on the AIS base stations, 7 VHF multi-channel radio stations, and 7 RDF stations. In addition to these, we have 8 short-range primary armor and approach radars, in which we also have another 4 AIS base stations, 4 VHF multi-channel, and 4 RDF stations, plus 5 meteorological stations. This gives us a total of 11 base stations and 16 radars, plus in VHF we have 11 stations which accommodate 77 radios along the coast. We have 3 dedicated radios at all times on channel 1670 DSC and 121.5, which is the air emergency frequency, plus 4 radios on each station that can accommodate any of the usual channels in the maritime mobile service. So this is our hardware to put all this together and bring all this information to the one operational center we are running. We have a dedicated data exchange network with a bandwidth of 155 megabits. This network, which you can see there on that map of Portugal, is like the backbone that connects all the coastal VTS towers and other stations, communication stations like the one you can see there on the photo. And all the information is collected and comes back to us on the control center or to the secondary controls redundant center, which we have in the south of the country. This network is being actually complemented by a second network, which in fact in the very near future it will not be a backbone but more of a ring, a closed ring, which will give us a redundancy, a much greater redundancy in ensuring these communications. As a matter of fact, the actual provisions we have made for our system is to assure on the VTS side a 99.9% of availability, and on the communication network a 99.98% of availability of all systems. We have in the control centers, which this is the main control center, we have 4 working consoles plus 1 supervisory console. All the consoles have 2 display systems, DDSs, plus a touchscreen for VCS control monitor, which allow us to control any of the 77 VHF radios we have along the system. Plus we have a GMDSS DSC monitor for receiving safety emergency messages, plus one maritime database monitor. This maritime database is one of our primary tools. All the ships that come into the system, all the tracks are automatically correlated with this database, which can then be complemented by the operator, if necessary, regarding accidents or incidents or any other thing that happens to a vessel during its stay on our VTS area. This gives you a picture of our coverage of our sensors in the whole coast of Portugal. So the radar, I would say that the radar in the VHF display here, it's very consistent with which we have. AIS, this is a theoretical range, and the one we have is actually larger than this. As you can see, most of the radars and the VHF radios and the AIS stations, the range overlaps each other in a very big way, which gives us a very large redundancy in case of breakdown of any of the radars or AIS stations or whatever. All these stations, all these radar towers, they can be remotely monitored from our control center. So where we can monitor the malfunctions and prepare maintenance. For some functions we can even restart or reset. We have that capacity with remote controls from our control center. All these towers and the control centers, they have their own power supply. If there is a breakdown on the national power grid, they will remain functioning on UPSs for about 4 hours, and then they have emergency generators on automatic start that will give them approximately 72 hours more working. Now, we have the other way. Let's talk about the personnel. All the personnel was selected during the last quarter of 2007. They are all merchant marine officers. The operators, they all hold officer in charge of a watch, navigational watch, STCW certificate, and the supervisors, they all hold a Master Mariner, no limitations, and a STCW. They all also have GMDSS operator certificates. All applicants, and they were then given a training for about 8 weeks following IALA recommendation V13 and using the model courses V13-1 and also V13-3 for the on-job training. Not in a very uncommon turn on events. I must say that if one of my countrymen was the first European to round the Cape of Good Hope 520 years ago, it was the South African that gave training to our VTS operators. Captain Kieran Cox, I know you are in the room, and I want you to know that we owe you a great deal in the very expedient manner and very efficient manner that we were able to start our service much faster and in a much more competent way than we ever thought it would be possible. Now for the services. For the services, we have jurisdiction, and as a matter of fact, under Portuguese law, we are supported, the Coastal VTS has support to